here when I'm on it.
Welcome to The Collective, where every conversation ignites a new perspective. Join us as we delve into the journeys of remarkable individuals, explore the art of growth, resilience, and the power of a shared mission as we strive to be better together. Hey everybody, welcome back to The Gold Mine. Shaun was riling us up in the green room, and it's always a good way to start a show, I gotta say. Now, while I am excited about this show, make sure y'all are. Like the show, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, do all that good stuff, get your emails while we go live on Wednesday and Fridays for The Collective. If you have any thoughts, questions, comments, put them up in the comment section throughout, and we can hit those throughout the show. If you want to stay in the loop with everything Collective, then you need to be on the Reinforcement Loops mailing list. Make sure you sign up for that, and that is on the website and all the other places you can find it. Other than that, we're going to be talking to Zach. It's been too long, Zach. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. June's almost coming to an end. Summer's here. It's been raining, and I've been just taking care of the dog lately. It's been a lot. The highs and lows of ear infections and surgeries and all that talk. So it's been back and forth. I had to take him to the vet a couple weeks ago, and his eyes were just darting back and forth, and he was spinning in circles. It's scary, and it's gonna be my first pet that I might lose, and he's 9 years old, French bulldog. So it's not easy.
That is not an easy time period at all, Shaun. Any thoughts right off the bat?
Well, it isn't an easy time. And of course, Zach, as you know, as like half of the internet knows now, God, that was such a mistake. I was saying at the dinner table last night, I say it's a mistake, but maybe it's a good thing that I'm now like putting out some content on our dog who's in his final phase. And I said at the dinner table last night, man, like I kind of blew it about 24 hours ago, because I treat my stories not as throwaways. Like if I'm putting something up in my stories, it matters to me at least. And so content that goes up in my stories, I know is gone in 24 hours. So I took a photo of our dog Strider just as we were finished at the vet. He's in the hurt locker right now, and he had a look on his face that I just wanted to capture for eternity. And as I took the photo, I thought, man, that's a nice photo. I just better make all the troops aware that Strider Boy is in the last phase. And so it's not like I didn't give it any thought. I gave it a bit of thought. But what I didn't think about was the ripple-on effect of everyone who's either met Strider or sees Strider on the internet or whatever the case is. Everyone was like all up in my grill, being like really nice and really kind and really, all of it, man. It was I had hundreds of DMs from people, everything from my thoughts and prayers are out to you, bro, right through to pro tips on how to look after a dog. I mean, like everything. So I said at the family table last night, I didn't really think about it. My son Evan said this. He saw it in my stories, and the moment he saw it and read the verbiage in his mind, all he saw was World War Z. In Israel, when all the zombies are like they're just basically swarming over the wall, he said, Dad, you deserve what you get now. You're going to get World War Z'd. But here I am like 24 hours plus later, and it's actually been pretty good because, Zach, I put up a video yesterday. I was talking about our dog and how I will process his loss and how I processed our last dog's loss. My unique way is different than everyone else's way, but we all got to find a way. You can't just like hang out in it and soak in the grief forever. And so rather than stewing on it, I gave my sort of directive for Shaun, and it's actually been good for people, I think.
I think so. Zach, you got any thoughts on that? Have you seen the kind of outburst from people?
Well, I definitely saw it on Shaun's post, and I was one of them to reach out, one of the many. But, I think it's one of those things where they're a family member. And I think anyone that has an animal can relate to that. So that losing of a pet, it's that void, especially one that lives just with me. And there's going to be this shadow that's empty for a while. He's like Garfield. He sleeps right next to me. So
it's tough. We had to put our family cat down just recently as well. And this is and we're going to get into Mentell here in a second, but the point is that everybody has their process. And when an animal disappears from the house, all of the places that you expect to see them, they're no longer there. And so there's all these reminders and all these little things that kind of trickle up. But the process for Shaun is going to be different than the process for me, which is going to be different from the process for you. But absolutely, to your point, Shaun, when you put that post out, I think you said it right in that I will process it the way I process it. And this is how I've done it in the past, and this is what works. So I think,
and you know what I did try to do, and I hope maybe you guys picked it up. I don't know. I'm asking you a question now. Did you pick up what I was putting down? It wasn't just about the dog. It wasn't just about how I do it, but I was kind of like loosely tying it into the construct of, I almost called it June Men's Mental Health Month for pets. Because like our pets are a big part of our lives and they're a big part of our mental health. And so when our pets are struggling, I believe that our mental health struggles to some degree. And so I wanted to raise it up as a subject. I almost tied it directly to mental health, but I thought I'd just do an inference or infer these things and let people fill in their own gaps and give it kind of a space to kind of bubble up a little bit rather than like bam, 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 saying, direct and to the point. So I do believe that this subject of pets is part of men's mental health for sure.
It's therapy, definitely. And, we hear about equine therapy. We hear about all of this. There's something that's calming about an animal that when you pet it, it calms me down, at least. It works for me. So I'm sure it does for you guys as well. Yeah.
I think the companionship is definitely a key. And I mean, you can also, I think it's a similar concept in terms of having someone in your life. Like you said, it's family, right? So I'm thinking of people at the jiu-jitsu studio or the people that I go out to when I go see my family for the branding and stuff like that. And I get to see those people again. And every year that I go back, if they aren't there, there's a hole there. So yeah, it is definitely part of the conversation. And on that, let's dive into it a little bit, because Zach, this is your third year now doing the men's mental health Mentell push. And I want to know how it's gone so far, lessons learned, how this year's turned out, all the things.
Absolutely. So where should we start, Chance? Where would you like to start on that one?
Well, okay, let's start with, why don't you talk about how you see mental health? Let's hear about how you've seen the evolution from day one when Shaun kind of poked you in the ribs and started getting you on the job to now. Let's start with that.
Absolutely. So I think from day one, the idea was there, but if you're not better, the imposter syndrome's there. You're just, I don't know, you're doubting yourself. Everything's going on in your mind. You're saying, well, I'm not the person to lead this. I'm not the person to do any of this. But then when Shaun came around and said, hey, actually, this is a great idea. You should pursue this. You should take this to the next level. I'm thinking, well, why us? Because, we have CMHA, we have all these organizations out there. No one really cares. But then all of a sudden, what we do actually helps our mental health is the collective, the podcasts out there. We like looking at each other's content because it helps us. Those little bite-sized pieces of content, we can take something away from. So I think over time, Mentell was, formed. 3 years ago, we had about 23,000 of reach for that year. Last year, we had 55.7 thousand, give or take. It's on our blog on Mentell, broken down. This year, actually, let's see, because the goal was, okay, let's try to get to 100,000, scale accordingly. And it's not about the numbers, I will say that right away, but it does track metrics. It does track, are we on the right track? So for this year, we're at, and it's not even the end of June, we're at 301.8 thousand people we've reached.
Bam. I love it. Shaun, you got any thoughts
that's
on
power.
that?
That's impact. Yeah.
Well, so I just want to establish the history a little bit more clearly. I didn't poke anyone in the ribs. I don't do that
totally
kind
did.
of stuff.
You totally did. Don't even try.
Listen, the idea, the spirit of what has occurred with Mentell, I just want to say that was pretty much all Zach. And so we, the collective, Chance and I, and Zach, we just enabled that to some degree with a little bit of, support, a little bit of enthusiasm, a little bit of rah rah sis boom ba, and a little bit of convincing a guy that he was the right guy at the right time to do that job. And sometimes that's really uncomfortable to hear. I mean, I've heard it myself, and sometimes I don't like hearing it when someone delivers it to me. So good on Zach for picking up what we were putting down. It was all Zach, pretty much. I've enjoyed watching the evolution, but not just the evolution of Mentell, to your earlier point, Zach, and that is your own personal evolution. Like, you're just freaking smashing it right now. I see you as just a way different dude. And like, you are, like, you're in your capabilities now. Whereas, 3 years ago, I didn't see you, kind of stretching your boundaries of capabilities. But it's just been so enjoyable to watch you really flourish under a banner called Mentell. It could have been anything, literally anything. But the thing that it is now is Mentell. And I'm so happy that it is that, because you were the right guy for the job and you've done a hell of a job.
Thank you. Thank you, Shaun. Thank you, Chance.
It's our pleasure, man. This is the beauty of it is that we're I see the difference in not only you, but I see the difference in the message. I see the difference in the way people engage with it. I see the videos that come out consistently throughout June is just awesome. And the messages from the men out there are becoming more nuanced. They're becoming more developed, right? People are speaking with a much more soulful position rather than a superficial one. At least that's what I've seen. Have you seen the similar?
I have, and I think initially the goal was to just get that one person to speak, that one step. Year after year, the people that come back, the videos get longer. They're refined, they're tuned to something they're actually feeling. So obviously the first step is to say, is like, hey, share that video. If you can't do it, share a post of something. Keep it simple. That's that one step. Then next year, hopefully you can elevate that and take it to the next level. And I definitely think the messaging is getting better. I mean, even for myself, about being the flare, that's something that I believed in. And I was walking in a forest once and I said, how nice would it be to see that? Why don't we be that? Because usually it's someone else and we're trying to go find that. But if we're doing better today, we need to be that for someone. That's a responsibility I think we have. Yeah.
I could not agree more. I just want to touch on a couple comments, and then Shaun, I want to hear your thoughts on this because you've been watching intently since the beginning. I'm just going to hit these real quick. Dan C says, "What an amazing initiative! I heard of Mentell for the first time this year. After years of witnessing suicides, intervening in them, and being a survivor, this is one of the most important messages." Which I could not agree with more. Brady on the Greyman Project jumped in here on the Instagram side. Good to see you, buddy. He says, "I like the Mentell mission and work." And Fahad Speaks says, "Great choice. Yeah, this is." A beautiful thing to touch on. So, Shaun, what have you seen in these last little while?
Well, to the point that was already made, I have seen a sophistication increase in the message and a more broader approach to the message. And I think it's a two-sided, or two sides of the coin. You've got the individual, we'll say it's me. For the third year, I'm putting out videos on behalf of Mentell, or for Mentell, I will say, not on behalf of, just throwing in my 2 cents, as it were. And my message out to the troops nowadays is more sophisticated than it was 3 years ago. And that's because I do intently watch the initiative. I do watch Mentell closely. I do watch its evolution, and I'm looking to not fill in gaps, but I'm actually trying to lead from the front. I'm trying to be a freak up at the leading edge, the ragged edge, the charge, as it were, to have someone chase me. There's people out there that really, really, really want to be helpful, and they don't know how, but they have a competitive streak in them. They have a flair inside of them that they want to flare with. And I think it takes a lot of different characters to move an initiative. And I'm a character for sure. It's not like I'm the only character out there. If on the Mentell crew, there's 100 characters, there's 100 different approaches going in a 360 direction that pulls more men in and refines the message more. Again, as I said, my message in year 1 versus year 3, the videos that I put out for Mentell, are just wider ranging, are deeper thinking, and are more, I wouldn't go as far as to say inspiring, but they have a person sort of like eager to get in the game somehow, and they don't even know how yet. But that's really the messages I'm trying to put out this year, is get people thinking deeply with some conviction and eager to get in with the gang.
I really think at least from what I can see and from the community that we've kind of created here with the collective and with Mentell and all the people out there, from what I can see, it's becoming almost like a cascade point now, where there's so many more men opening up. There's so many more men discussing what they're going through and finding commonality in so many different aspects of life that I can't say how great this has been. Now, on the same portion, and I want to talk a little bit about this, Shaun. The first video you put out this year, you were talking about just whatever it is, get it out there. Don't worry about it. If it takes 15 takes, don't, just get something out there. And it is really challenging, because for a lot of people who have never seen themselves on camera, they've never heard their voice before, everything feels weird and like disturbing. Why would I put myself out there like that? Have you guys noticed the same, Zach? What have you noticed from the people sending in videos?
They had the same thing that we all went through. They're saying, oh, this is so cringy, or this is so awkward. I mean, I told them, that one video, the first video I did, 27 times I tried to get it right. I finally got it, and then I would say a word off, and I said, then you know what? I finally gave up and said, I'm just going to put it out there. And then the next video became 4 times, and now 3, and hopefully I'll get to 1. And one day it might be live like this, but it takes time. It takes time. And if you're not there yet, like I said, is share a photo of something you like. If you don't like that, share a photo of yourself or the back of yourself, just something. Get it out there. I think we chase perfectionism, but it's not about that anymore. It's progress. It's day by day, 1 step at a time, 1 inch at a time. And that's how we move forward, right? And then we often get caught up in our own mind about that too. Like, oh, I sound weird. Because I'm with you. I get weirded out by hearing my voice after. I'm like, gosh, do I sound like that?
It's so hard when you first get into it. It does get easier over time. Shaun, what do you think?
Okay, so it does get easier over time, but it never gets easy, as far as I'm concerned. And Chance, I'm going to hold you to some accountability.
Absolutely,
right now.
You're 100% right.
I was poking. I've been poking everyone. If I haven't poked you about getting a video up, it's only because you haven't popped up on my radar for me to poke you. And so I poke Chance, I poke everyone. And as I said to Chance, get a freaking video up on Mentell ASAP. And Chance, stayed up super late recording multiple recordings. I forget how many you did, Chance. I don't want to rat you out, but it was more than one.
It was a lot.
And do you know why I love that? And this isn't just now for Chance. This is for every freaking man who's going to listen to this today. Because I really want you to think about this. Chance, to some degree, is now a professional podcaster. And he's got a redonk amount of time in front of the microphone, live to the world. And it has consequences. But the moment that it's just you talking to your phone, or just you talking to the camera, and you're not interacting with anyone other than yourself, it's difficult. I'd consider myself a pretty seasoned podcaster now, and it's freaking hard, troops. It is so hard. But here's the message. If it's hard, it means you care. It means you're doing your best, or trying to anyway. And it doesn't matter whether you actually produce a video or not. What does matter is that you engage in the process, doing your best and feel in the moment of doing your best. If you do 10 shoots and you get nothing at the end of it, 10 video shoots and nothing to show other than 10 attempts, you cared 10 times. You cared enough to reshoot it. You cared enough to be in the game and not be happy enough with your first shot that you wanted to improve things. There's so many things that are telling about a person who engages not in their craft, but engages in the moment and wants to make it better, not just maybe for themselves, but for the people who are receiving it on the other end. And so I've had a few reshoots myself. And it just means to me, when I do a reshoot, that I care enough about the moment to give it my best effort. And sometimes that'll take a couple of times. Don't sweat that. That just means that not only are you in the game, but you care enough to be in the game.
I totally agree with that one. And it really is. I got a great comment from the Instagram side here that I want to touch on because it goes into this, is that Great Man Project says, when I did my men's mental health video every day a couple years ago, I had so many takes, especially in anger, and the irony of how mad I got shooting it. So such a great point in that it is aggravating. We care so much, not only about the message, but about the delivery and how people are going to take it and how all these extra pieces that sometimes we get lost in the weeds of all those things. And just for me, at least, the one thing that I have to do is go back to the message. What do I want to say? What is it that I'm trying to get across? And then I just simplify it to a point that I can understand it myself, rather than going into the nuances and the developments and and then there's this and those things, and all is where I get trapped a lot. So I have to bring it back down. Simple. Here's my thought.
Yeah, because you're the only one who cares about all of the detail and the nuance and the supporting infrastructure of the story. And, you know, there's a time and place for that. Like, I love hearing the supporting infrastructure of a story when I'm on a couch with that brohemo, kicking back, chillaxing, and we got time to like have a few laughs and dive deep into the infrastructure. But when you're clipping out a 30-second or a 60-second or a 90-second clip, like that infrastructure, there's no place for it. And that's why I love short clips for myself, because I find it demanding. I find it extremely challenging to strip out the infrastructure and just get to the core of the message, because I love to weave a tale. It's the storyteller in me, I suppose. It's the frickin' Irish in me. And so, like, clips are so demanding to get across the point without the supporting infrastructure, because you want to tell more than the core message. You want to tell your story as part of the core message. And that is where there's a delicate balance between eroding the core message by throwing in your own personal message, or not putting up in enough authentic personality that the core message is just a glib, trite statement that is part of a corporate banner. It's a balance, and you've got to like weave the two together, and that just takes some iterations. It takes some freaking experience. And I mean, if I'm anything as an example in this, get used to screwing it up thousands of times, but don't beat yourself up for it, because it just means that you're trying really hard.
Yeah, that's a great point. Zach, you got any thoughts?
You know, Shaun, you brought up organizations, and that is our first year. Well, this is our first year that we've had the Canadian Mental Health Association, the national organization, look at us and say, hey, we want to collaborate with you guys. How can we work with you guys? And, you know, obviously those conversations were quick for the month of June. But I think, you know, after June, how do we work with them? And how do we grow the initiative each June? Again, every day is a day to talk about mental health, but let's be realistic. We don't. Most people don't. So why don't we focus on that and amplify the message for that month, go on a sprint, and then have so much content on our feeds for the next person to see over time. Maybe he might not look at it in June, but he might see it in August or December and say, maybe I should try and read that book that Shaun was talking about, or that song Chance brought up. You know, it could be anything. And it's been interesting to see from an organizational standpoint, when I talk about the CMHA or anybody, they said, Zach, we can't get people to make videos like this. And they're so obviously governed by so many things, and they're great at what they do with their stats and get the resources that we need to get the message across. But I think what works for us is because we're not perfect. We're raw videos, and we're not complaining about all the things that are going wrong in our lives. We're saying, hey, this is a thing that got me out of something, or this is what I do. So it's more on the preventative side of things than, oh, it's too late now. And I think that's where we're at right now.
I agree. And I think people also, at least from my perspective, what I wanted to do initially was give advice. I wanted to say, oh, this is how you do it better. Versus what is necessary of, this is what I did to do the thing. When I got through this, this is what happened. And it's such a beautiful thing. And not only that, but it's created its own little community. And this is the cool thing. We got a comment here on the Instagram side. Fahad Speaks says, met for coffee with Greg Cooper this morning after meeting him through Mentell like 2 to 3 years ago. Had a great chat about mental health and talked about all of you. And the community is there. That's the beautiful part about the Mentell that I've seen is people start to rally around it. The people who put out videos on a pretty regular basis, we all kind of know each other. We all have talked online before, and we all are developing this physical communication outside of just the Mentell space, which is awesome. And I just wanted to ask you guys.
So yeah, all of that is happening. But to Zach's earlier point about CMHA and various organizations, Zach is kind of like that interface, that middleman, as it were, between all the Men's Mental Health Month material and troops and the organization or organizations that are out there that want to provide things that we're currently doing, but because of either their limitations or restrictions or what their different focuses, they don't have this material, they don't have this content, they don't have this connection. And so like it needs a middleman, it needs an interface. And Zach, you've been an amazing interface. I watched your interview with CMHA or with, the news reporting crew. The video was like top notch and sound was great and looked very professional. But what really stood out to me is your level of professionalism and comfort. Your comfort in the position. You felt like, to me, you were settled and you were kind of not owning what was going on, but, embracing what was going on. And that wasn't you the first year, but that's you now. Mm-hmm. And so, like, without you as an interface, all of this would just be empty talk. And so your job is not just pivotal, it's critical. Without that interface, none of this would be happening for sure.
But it's interesting, and I've talked to a few people about this, is you do need to do something like this. You do need, how do I say it? To siphon all of the information, to have it in a funnel. You couldn't have it from an organization coming to you guys or anybody and saying, hey, can you make us a video? It'd feel very institutional. And I think it takes away that human aspect, right? Humanizing a brand, humanizing ourselves, especially in today's time where it's so noisy out there. And, as we know with AI and everything out there, it's a lot going on. So how do we stay focused? One of the things was, for myself, was building an invisible shield in June, is what I call it, around me, that I had to do. And obviously having people like yourselves to talk to when sometimes I'm doubting myself, or am I on the right track here? Are we all on the right path? Because it needs to be sustainable once I'm gone one day. That's the way I look at things like this. It's whatever the platform changes, it doesn't matter. It just needs to continue on or not. It doesn't matter, whatever it evolves into. But it just needs to be, it's not a charity. It's not an initiative. It's an initiative. It's not a company or an organization. It's only an initiative. Some people call it a campaign. Great. But we'd like to call it like an initiative. And I think that armored shield is something I needed to do to desensitize myself sometimes in moments or in this kind of a month, June.
So that's good. And I just want to draw attention to something you said about AI. Do you guys remember before the collective existed and before Mentell existed? I looked both at you and said, one of the reasons I want to start creating something is to get in front of the 8-ball called AI.
Yes.
Pretty soon, in a few years, there will be very little to distinguish or delineate between a human, me, Zach, and Chance, and AI. it will be impossible for the layman to see what is going on. And I wanted to get in front of the disinformation. I wanted to get in front of the robots. I wanted to create a presence, me as a presence, the collective as a presence, Mentell as a presence, so that we actually had real humans with real talk, real authenticity on real problems, rather than what is now on the cusp. We're on the cusp of a rapid de-evolution of this message, perhaps through AI. Zach, I'm super stoked that you listened to that message, because you then, like myself, almost in parallel, started looking at AI in a variety of different ways. And perhaps you even took it further than I thought you would in your own personal evolutionary development and research patterns to better understand this issue. And so here we are, 3 years later, talking about the robots and how we're going to beat them. Bet you didn't see that one coming 3 years ago, hey?
I didn't, but I do remember that conversation now. And I'm so glad that we created these initiatives with humans, real humans, because I've played around. I mean, Shaun, and so have you and Chance. Great. There's good to it. And then there's this other side that I've played around with where it's like, oh, I can clone myself. I made a few videos around that to test it out. I've cloned a voice. I've tried all these different things. And it's good to try things out, like I always recommend, but know where we're going to be. I mean, if I start cloning my videos right now for Mentell, it's not going to work. It's totally not going to work. It's non-human. It's not real. It's not authentic. So I think this, no one can take away from us. These kind of conversations, these virtual campfires, if you want to call it.
Now, authenticity lends itself to our conversations because this is what we sought in the beginning, right? At the very root of the message is authenticity. The, let's say, I guess, problem that I'm seeing out there now is that most people don't seek authenticity. They don't know how, because, and I was talking to somebody on the mats earlier today about this, is the fact that rarely do people seek clarity or authenticity until their vision is blurred, or the waters are muddied, or like problems happen. And then they go, oh man, I wish I had some clarity right now. This would be great. And Shaun and I, we've had conversations about this before. It's in the moments of clarity when you need to start seeking clarity ahead of time. Like when you have a moment and go, oh man, I should probably future cast this a little bit. And I think what has come about from Mentell, from the collective, from all these things is an authenticity that you don't often see, just due to the fact that was the goal in the very beginning. So I got a couple comments here I just want to touch on real quick before we move on. And I know you got a time constraint here, Zach, so I'm going to make sure that we're
That's okay. We can have
under that. And Sean shaking his head. Earlier, Gray Bad Project jumped in. He said, sir, I would like some poking. Phrasing. I don't get a lot of encouragement. I could use some bros pushing me. All right, buddy, we got you. And then Vagger Dan Levante jumped in here, said timestamp Sean's message, and I did. I got it here. It's at the 20-minute mark. And then one more here, Sean, before you jump in. Zach, Dan C says, Zach, I worked with BCM HSUS. I don't know what that acronym stands for, but and understand those institutions and how they operate internally. For you to build that bridge from the outside into them is a monumental achievement. So thank you.
It takes all of us. Yeah,
100%.
Can you go back to that gray man comment, please? Thanks. So, I don't mind poking anyone. In fact, it's a little sport of mine. It's almost like a little hobby, but not in a mean-spirited way. I love it as a little side quest because Gray Man Project and I may never meet and shake hands, but somehow it satisfies me, or it pleases me, or it gives me a sense of, I don't know, I'm doing the right thing when I'm poking my friends, when I'm hassling them, when I'm chipping away at them, when I'm chirping at them. Somehow that just feels right to me. And why does it feel right? Because I don't see many people doing it. And sometimes that's what it takes to get a dude moving. Like knowing that, as someone said, Sean's always watching. Well, I usually am. I usually am always watching. And if someone knows that, sometimes that's just enough for them to straighten their back up a little bit more, put their chest out a little bit more, get their chin squared away, and pick up the pace a little bit. And so I'm not saying that that's a for real thing, but I've heard it is. All I do know is that every once in a while, someone needs to be poked in the chest. And I don't mind doing it because I'm real comfortable with it. And I kind of like it because I know that that's what it took in that moment to get that guy moving. And no one else is going to do it for them. So sometimes I come across as the bad guy because of it, because I like to poke hard sometimes. I do like to move that needle a little bit faster than it should. Well, that's also not a bad thing for the other individual because they get to process a whole bunch of things, including why is Shaun so mean to me? And I've heard it all. I've poked so hard that there isn't a name that I haven't been called. I've been called a lot of things. But at the end of the day, I'm just trying to create results for that individual. And sometimes the pressure is a bit hard. So, Gray Man Project, I'm happy to poke you anytime of the week for sure. And as hard as you want to get poked. And if you want to go down that path, hit me up in my DMs. Let's figure something out. Let's get you frickin' crack-a-lackin' moving. You know what I'm saying?
So as a side note on this, before you jump in here, Zach, I just recently saw a video from Brady and he went on about the fact that he's changing his tune a little bit. He's going to make a much more positive message, and he's going to be pushing the good word, which is awesome to see. And I'm stoked for you, buddy. And yes, hit up Shaun. He will, he'll take you to places you didn't think you were going to go. Zach, what were you going to say?
Brady, first thing, if you got time, make that video. That's a great start. If it's not Shaun poking you right now, I'm encouraging you to do that. It'll help all of us because we've all been there. I mean, for myself, 2 years prior to Mentell starting, the branding was there. I, here and there I would post things about Mentell. It was nothing. It was just an idea. When Shaun saw it, he poked me on it. And yes, I was a dormant seed or something. I needed to be in the right environment. And when you're ready, people will come in your life like Shaun or somebody, and you're here today. You're at that door. So knock on it. It's open. And, Shaun obviously encouraged me and poked me and said, let's go. It was not in a bad way. It was in a positive way to say, hey, this is good. Not for just you, Zach. It's good for everyone. So start there. So whatever you want to do, I think, the door is here now. Knock on it and it's open. So best of luck.
100%. Now, quickly,
did you just say best of luck? Yeah, you'll need it.
Dan C jumped in here. He says, for the acronym BCMHSUS, BC Mental Health and Substance Use Services. Thanks for the correction, Dan. On the Instagram side, Derek Mack jumped in here. He said, that's the problem. A lot of watchers and not a lot of pokers, which is very true. A lot of people want to, more than willing to tell you what you're doing wrong versus holding you accountable to that. He carries on with, the best feeling is when you circle back later on and thank you for the pokes, which is exactly another great period, is when you can circle back on your own self. You can see the reflections and go, oh man, you know what? I really appreciate that. That's what I needed in that moment. Sweet. Thank you. But in the moment, it's rare to thank people for it.
Closing that loop on the recognition of that's what was needed. And I'm so glad that that's what happened. And look at me now. Go team, go. When you finally close that loop and realize that's not just, oh, I see how it works. What it should be is, oh, I see how I'm going to do it for someone else. Because it's a super powerful thing, man. And sometimes it takes years. I've planted seeds in some people's minds that haven't showed up for like a decade. But I know it's going to happen. And when they finally get to that point where they realize the power of getting someone else to that point, man, it's so good. But you've got to experience it. You've got to intentionally set those seeds, watch it germinate, pour water on it, do all of the stuff, let it flourish. And then when the individual recognizes what has just happened, it's not a bad idea to explain to them how the game is played, how the system works, how the process flows, because now they're part of it and they're supposed to expand it, just as Mentell is supposed to expand, just through a bunch of dudes trying to do their best for other dudes. But as a dude does well, and he gets to that point where he recognizes that, that's when someone is supposed to hop on and say, hey, now you're in the game. Let's freaking go.
Mm-hmm. The man in the arena. What I wanted to say is, so I'm just looking at last year's statistics. So it's on our blog, and you can go to mensmentalhealthmonth.ca to find it. So last year our accounts engaged were 2,800. This year we're at 16,000. And then, as I said, accounts reached last year were 57,963. This year it's 301,080. And I think that's because of all of us. Like, this is not a one-man show. This takes everybody. And I got to remind people, it's because of you. It's because of Shaun, Chance, Collective, so many incredible folks out there that are doing something that it seems so simple, but it takes time to, evolve and grow. And I think next year we'll be at something else. And if not, that's fine too. I got to say something. There was 3 people that, and I won't say their names, they reached out, 3 different people from across Canada in my DMs for Mentell. And they said, I was at my tipping point, but I saw a video and this changed me because of this. Another person said, hey, I was in bed and I couldn't get out. I was scrolling my feed and I landed on Mentell. And this is what it did for me. And I was able to do this. So if we change one person's life, I think that's a win. It doesn't matter about the metrics. That's just to gauge where we're at from a analytic standpoint. But the real number, the real thing is the human aspect. Did we impact somebody? One person? Done. They're here today because of that? Done.
So I'm gonna slightly push back on that, because yes, you're right. It is about the singular person, and it's about, if I can make a difference in someone else's life, or if the message that we proliferate makes a difference in one person's life, that's great. But it's in addition to, I think, Shaun's point, which is that then it becomes that next person's responsibility to a degree to continue to push that message out to the next group, to the next group, to the next group. And that it's all well and good, like, hey, yeah, I helped that one guy.
Be the flare. Yeah.
And that's exactly it. You got to stand up. You got to pass that off to the next person. You got to develop the knowledge. And you have to continue to seek for more. This is one of the hardest parts, is that once the doors open and you're like, oh man, this is so much nicer over here. This is beautiful. You can't just sit there and like enjoy it by yourself. You have a responsibility now to bring other people into it, or to show that that door to other people. Shaun, you got any thoughts?
Just that, like when I engage with someone, I've said this almost point blank, word for word. I'm investing in you now, and I want some return on my dollar. And like that's about as harsh as a person can say it. And I've said it many ways, but that is really the spirit of it. I am now investing my life energy in you. That is not free. Energy is not free. My life is not free. I try to use it wisely. And so when I invest in someone, I expect a return, but not to me. A return to the process, a return to the system, a return to the collective. So if I put $10 into your bank, I want $12 out to the collective. So to me, it's investing in someone. And then the principles of economics, interest, compounding interest, etc. That's scale. And so now what we're seeing with Mentell is the compounding interest of scale. And so next year I expect it to be bigger. And I mean, I expect. And that's not something that it will do by itself. That requires a central banker, Zach, to manage that process and ensure that the scale is in accordance with the fairly linear future casting projections of that compounding interest aspect. Now, you've been busy, Zach. Every single day, you're pushing it right to the finish line at the end, to the end of this month. June is starting to wrap up. But I see you almost like not doubling down on your post, but like you're not slacking off. You are not lifting your foot off the gas pedal. So my question to you is this. With just a few days left, what can we do? And what can the troops do? So what can I do, Shaun? Shoot another video. What would it be on? What can all the troops do? So me and the troops, 2 points.
If you haven't made a video yet, thanks, Shaun, by the way. If you haven't made a video yet, shoot it. Post it. It's okay if it's not perfect. And for the troops out there that already have done this, keep it short, get a strong call to action, and encourage your circle to get involved, because I think now that's where we need to head, is to get your circle involved and encourage each one of them to say, hey, do you mind doing this? Or do you mind taking a photo? Whatever it is, just can you start doing this? And we can finish this off strong. You know, Shaun, I saw your post today. It popped up on my feed and I actually commented on it. It was interesting. It was about at the end when you're tired, you know, and it's like, oh, the last lap. And what a perfect time for me to see that post today. And I was like, huh, interesting. Because you do get tired. I mean, at a certain point where you're just like, oh, okay, I need to take a minute. And you're like, this is when it's that time to either double down or we just take that minute, just like, oh, let's just coast through. But guess what? And there's no one coming after us to finish us or get to the finish line before us, because it's not about that. But how do we stay strong till the end? And I think your post was great. So I think I'll definitely have to repost that again today.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And I love the messaging that has been coming out from everybody. And I just wanted to reiterate that if you can keep it simple, it's way easier. It's way easier if you keep it simple. Couple comments, and then we can shut her down. We get some final thoughts, and then we can shut her down, Zach, because I know you got a hard timing here. John Minari says, thank you, Zach, for your work, brother. Good to see you, John. Corbin Bobby on the Instagram side said, using the story and sharing Mentell is your followers' token of appreciation as well. And Daniel Labonte says, always forward and upward. That has been stated so often, which is 100% true. Now, I have one question, and we can use it as kind of our final thoughts. What do you want to see from mental health? Like, as a concept, what do you want that to become?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, you know, my vision is for, you know, how we have Movember for November. For June in Canada or anywhere, really, we don't have... like this is this place, because everyone organization is doing something. But when I think for June, for Men's Mental Health Month, I want people to think of Mentell. That's the goal. It doesn't need to be a charity. It doesn't need to be an organization. We're not asking for that. We're not selling merch, nothing. It just wants to be an initiative for the month of June that is so strong that it leads everyone or carries everyone throughout the year through content. Sure, we coast and, you know, post content throughout the year. Maybe we'll do some lives. Maybe we'll add some stuff here and there. But the goal is to focus on June. And that's why, you know, like this year also getting mensmentalhealthmonth.ca, and it's redirected to mentell.ca. So it's a start. And I think layers. And that's where I think we can go with this is, well, that's the goal.
I love it. Shaun, what do you want to see out of Mentell?
First, to defeat the robots. No, what I want is what Zach just described, is precisely that, the Movember for June. And Mentell is a perfect vehicle for that, because it's, what's the term, agnostic. It's not really part and parcel of any particular institution or organization. It's not overly affiliated with anything. The only thing it's affiliated with, as I see it, is trying to do good for men's mental health, period. And so it's pretty broadly spread now. Its tentacles are starting to expand into all kinds of areas. And the only reason that's happening is because the dudes are starting to talk to other dudes about dude stuff. And, you know, to Chance's point earlier, let's push at the end of this month to get the word out. Keep it super simple. Keep the core message easy to understand. But the challenge is maybe do it a little bit differently than you've ever done. And maybe just take the subject in a different direction as a core message. Because there's been a lot of messages this month. But there's things out there that people need to hear that hasn't been said. Maybe you're the right dude to say that thing. Keep it simple, sweet, to the point. But think of something that is uniquely different this month, perhaps.
I like it. We got a couple of suggestions actually from the Instagram side right now. Corbin Bobby jumped back in and he said, June should be Mentell got your 6, 9, 12, and 3. Hold the perimeter. Daniel Bonte jumped in. He said a platform that leads to open discussions and a gaining of a community that is filled with compassion, which I could not agree with more. And then Corbin Bobby just says, I created this expression, expand the perimeter, not just your back, which is a beautiful point as well. The one thing that I want to see from Mentell, or where I want to see this go, is that not only do I want it to be exactly what you're saying, a moment in time where people go, oh man, yeah, Mentell, it's June, absolutely. But I want people to, through Mentell, to realize that it's about the discussion. That's what stems all this other stuff, is that if we're talking about it actively with one another and we're honest and truthful and authentic, then that's where everybody gains, because everybody learns all at the same time. So, Zach, you got any final thoughts before we shut her down?
Absolutely. And I think if you guys see a post you resonate with, comment on it. Let that guy know. You know, Greg and Mo met up today because of Mentell 2-3 years ago. That's what we want, is these real world interactions that we are slowly losing, especially in the world of AI. You know, I'm dabbling in it, and I definitely can see where we're going. So stay human as best as possible from a guy looking at AI right now. And if I had to ask you, Chance and Shaun, what can I do to finish this month off strong for all of us?
That's a good question. Shaun, you got any thoughts?
I do. What can you do, Zach? I would say start owning what you're doing. Like, own it, bro. It's not that you're dabbling, like you're working super hard, but I don't think you've actually latched onto the idea that what you're doing is what you're doing. Like, recognize what you're doing and own it and freaking go smash. Because, you know, the imposter syndrome's a wicked thing, and you can be doing your best but feel like, you know, it's hardly your thing. But this is your thing. You're driving this, generally speaking, as the interface. And so you're making good choices, taking it in good directions. It is evolving as it should. But I'd love to see you own that some more. The spirit that you are mostly responsible for the national success that we are all seeing now.
That is I was going to go along the same road. Is that I've seen a lot of your videos. You know, we've had lots of conversations, and I was going to say, buy in. Like, we just had this conversation on faith on Friday, and it's so prevalent in my head. I'm still editing clips and stuff, and it really just comes down to full, straight belief. Truly believe that you are the person to do the job. And I can still see just a little bit of hesitation just in the back of your head when you're trying to do your videos, you're setting these things up.
You're not wrong.
You're not wrong, man. You're the man to do it. That's why you're here. So
I think it takes all of us, though. You know, and that's the thing, is I stay behind the scenes a lot of times to operate it, the operator side. And that's where maybe there's that lack of ownership, because I think we all own it. It's all of us. It's not just you and I and everyone here. It's you know, whatever out there in the interwebs owns this. It's not us.
I agree with you. I feel the same way about the collective. But at the end of the day, if I don't put up a show, if I don't schedule the thing, if I don't do it, it doesn't exist.
It's true.
It's not here. So in the same way, man, if you don't run Mentell, it will disappear. So it's on you. Kick it ass. Dan C jumps in here and says, kick ass, Zach. That's exactly what it is. And then he also says it's just refreshing to see the world starting to recognize men's mental health, which is 100% true. Daniel Labonte on the Instagram side says 100% with Shaun, and grateful for you, Zach. So
thank you, gentlemen.
Other than that, I got nothing, as we all continue to learn, build, grow, and talk about mental health. We'll see y'all next week. Chimo. Thanks everybody for watching and being part of the collective. If this has sparked any thoughts or resonated with you, let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us grow and keeps the conversation going. We'll see y'all next time.